Welcome in. We are in store for a fantastic episode. It is our season finale. Season 21, our winter season has come to an end. Matt Dean and I'm Blythe Whaley. You guys, this is going to be a fun one.
Some finality. We're going to tie a bow on the winter sports season and the season as a whole. Our final Sports Den show until next fall. We're talking high school football. So we're excited to be joined by several representatives. The den is a little extra full today. We've got Cougars, we've got Panthers, we've got Bengals. We're going to talk with members of all three of our girls basketball teams in the area. We're going to talk with a couple of the Centennial Cougar boys hockey players. Harper, Searles, and Heath Nelson are here to recap the Cougars showing at state hockey. And we're going to talk a little bit as well, too, with Brock Remme from Spring Lake Park boys basketball. So lots of representatives. We're going to start with that big state boys hockey tournament that was starting earlier this week at St. Paul at the Xcel Energy Arena. The Cougars making their sixth trip to state, their first trip in 6 years, the fifth in school history, as they matched up with CDH as the 3-seed Centennial in the tournament. 56 seconds in, first shot, first goal. It's Harper Searles from the top of the right circle, his 25th of the year, to put the Cougars up 1-0 in a flash. Just over 8 to go. Cougars in their first power play. They capitalize. Austin Peterson's shot, rebound, and sophomore Nick Carls takes advantage to make it 2-0 Centennial. Cougars would get another chance of the man advantage again. An Austin Peterson shot from the point, leading to a Carls goal, this time in an excellent redirect tip. The sophomore's second after just a 7-goal regular season. CDH would get one back before the intermission. Defenseman Aiden Siegfried with a great goal from the right dot. The senior had just 2 goals in the regular season coming into state. Only goal of the second period came with 56 seconds left. Chuck Owens, leading scorer for the Raiders, off the back of Easton Cody after it ricocheted off the pipe. Tough bounce for the Cougars. It gets the Raiders back within 1 headed to the third. CDH drew an early penalty and just their second of the game and capitalized. A minute 56 into the third. Sophomore Max Anderson ties it up at 3 for the Raiders. Anderson, 16 minutes plus of scoreless overtime. He buries it in the back. It's a double OT thriller, and CDH advances to the state semifinals. So tough game in a heartbreaking loss for Centennial as they go out in the state quarterfinal round at the X. The Cougars outshot the Raiders 12-8 in the first period, were outshot 42-20 the rest of the way as CDH pushed on through the semis. Easton Cody, we showed you kind of the couple of mistakes he made. He was terrific, facing 50 shots and making a career-high 46 saves. He was standing on his head throughout sections, and that continued into the state tournament for the junior. Centennial would go on. They beat Rochester Century, John Marshall, and Elk River to place 5th at state and win the consolation final. Here's how the rest of the state tournament played out. Edina would go on to their 14th title in school history, beating first-time state participants Chanhassen in an excellent final game. And as we said, Centennial with a terrific finish to their season, a couple of wins at Aldrich Arena and claiming 5th place at the state tournament. Welcome back into our Sports Den winter finale. We're going to be recapping some terrific seasons from our area schools. We're going to start on the ice, coming off just a week shy of the boys high school state hockey tournament, and we're here with a couple of the Centennial Cougars that were a part of that terrific event at the Xcel Energy Arena. So guys, first off, congratulations on a terrific season. 21 wins, section champs, and you guys go through and finish 5th place in the end at the state tournament. Terrific year for you guys. Harper, let's start with you. You guys had hit a little bit of a rough patch towards the end of the regular season. Your last 3 conference games, 3-game losing skid, some tough road games. You bounced back and beat 2 of those teams that you lost to in that little rut to get to state. You guys played a gauntlet of a schedule just to get to the big dance. What was that like? What were you guys talking about as a team, trying to play better, improve, and ultimately have the confidence to pull off those games in the rematch go route?
Yeah, I actually think that bad week of the season actually kind of came at a good time. I think we had a really good January, and I think we kind of got a little too settled in. So I think that kind of woke us up a little bit, helped us play better hockey. last week of the regular season, and then into sections we were rolling. So I think, seeing those teams right before sections really helped.
Yeah, seeing them before sections, and then by the time you guys got to the state tournament, Heath, you guys were pretty battle-tested, having to go through Rogers and Maple Grove just to get to state. How did that prepare you guys for, ultimately the big stage being at the state tournament?
It really prepared us, but tough loss right away. But it was really good to beat those two teams and send the team to state.
Yeah, you guys match up with Cretin-Durham Hall. We were looking at the highlights a little bit earlier in the show. I know it's still a fresh wound a little bit, Harper.
Yeah.
Like it was a phenomenal game from a neutral perspective. You guys don't come away with the win, but what was it like maybe a few days removed looking back? You were part of an incredible game in a great tournament.
It was obviously an unreal experience. I think playing in front of a full arena and the kind of game that it was, I think it was a super cool game to be a part of. The double overtime, and you couldn't ask for a better state tournament game. Obviously, it wasn't the outcome we wanted, and it was a heartbreaker loss. But I think our guys played really well and gave it their all, and they competed. So,
Heath, what's going to stand out to you about getting to play at the X? The result doesn't go your way, but some positives to take away from just an incredible experience.
It was an unreal experience, just like making a simple pass and just hearing the whole crowd just make sounds. It was like, especially after we scored the first goal, it was the loudest I've ever heard. And it was a really cool experience, just everything about it.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go back to the beginning of the season. Harper, you had some experience playing in junior hockey before the year. You had some opportunities to maybe go and pursue that. I know as a good player, you want to get to as high of a level as you can. I'll just ask you this, what was attractive about coming back to Centennial, trying to chase this thing again? I imagine you're pretty happy with your decision getting to play at the state tournament.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it second. There was a bunch of different factors. I think one of the biggest things was being able to play with my brother. Never played on a team with him before, so I think being able to play with him was really cool. Finishing out what I started and playing with my senior class, one of my best buddies growing up, I think that was really cool. And then obviously, one last run at getting to the state tournament. Obviously, it's in everyone's back of mind. I didn't know exactly, what that looked like or what our chances were, but it obviously paid off. So.
Yeah. Heath, with you had your first kind of full varsity season last year. You scored 9 goals. You were a contributor. You were one of 26 guys in the state that got to 30 or more this year. And not a lot of guys on that list were playing a double-A schedule with some of the teams that Centennial faced. What were you feeling coming into the season? You're like, okay, I'm a senior. I'm going to step up. I mean, playing with Harper, Searles on your line had to help. But what did you do? How did you improve physically, skill-wise, and just kind of mentally to be ready and have such a huge senior season?
What really helped was confidence and playing with this guy. He'll find me anywhere. It's really easy to score with him. And I wasn't expecting to have 30 at all. I was hoping for 20, and next thing you know, I hit 20 midway through the season. I was like, all right, let's just keep going, keep putting up numbers, and keep winning.
Yeah. Harper, you were the guy people knew about coming into the year. What did you see from Heath this year, banging in all the goals where you were usually the setup guy?
Yeah, I think coming into the year, thinking about who I was going to play with, and obviously Heath was the first guy to come to mind. And I think, it took us a week or so to kind of gel and get together. But I think after that, we were rolling, and it obviously showed that we had a lot of success playing together. And he's always in the right spot, and it's easy to find him. So it was really good all year long.
I talked with your guys' coach, with Rich Menne. He said you guys kind of took on the bunch of nobodies mentality. Heath was maybe a guy that casual fans didn't know a ton about before this year. Tell me about that mentality that you guys played with, Heath. Bunch of nobodies. People knew about Harper Searles' name maybe, but a lot of people didn't expect you guys to go to state this year.
Yeah, this summer, I think everyone thought we'd just be like a 500 team, maybe a little bit more. And as the season started, we started to realize, we could make a run at this. We're better than we thought. And we were a bunch of nobodies, and now everyone knows us. So it's a good way to end.
A lot of people thought Harper was going to be a Mr. Hockey finalist. He was edged, didn't get to go to the banquet on Sunday. Did your team use that as motivation? Hey, we need to get this guy in the big stage.
Yeah, we all.
We all wanted to prove them wrong and show that we have a Mr. Hockey finalist on our team, and I think we did.
Harper, I know you would trade being on the Mr. Hockey list to go to state. You'd make that trade any day of the week. You did get the Herb Brooks Award. What did that award mean with a name like that, and just getting the recognition of what you do on the ice and a little bit off of it too?
It was to learn, to find out that I won that award was really cool, and it was special. And I think, obviously to win an award in his name is pretty cool. It's an honor. So I think, obviously not getting the Mr. Hockey thing, but being able to make the state tournament, have success, winning that award, wouldn't trade it for anything. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. You guys lost to Cretin-Durham in your game at the X, but you got 2 more opportunities to keep playing together. As seniors, you go on and win the consolation bracket, finish 5th at state. What was the mentality of the team, Heath, after a heartbreaking loss, but you guys were like, hey, let's keep this season going. Let's extend this as far as we can. You scored the game-winning goal in the consolation finale in the final minute. So what did that mean for you guys? A consolation prize, but kind of going out on top. Not a lot of teams get to end their season with a win.
Yeah, after the loss, everyone was super down. Some probably wanted to be done, but that next morning, we went to the locker room and no one wanted to be done. Everyone wanted that extra day. Everyone wanted that last hockey game. So I think everyone just kept playing super hard, just up until the last minute, and enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, last thing I got for you guys. Harper, you mentioned, every pass you made, huge cheers, playing at the X. What's going to stand out about this experience from the run to the state tournament for you looking back?
Yeah, I think, it couldn't, senior season, high school career, I think it couldn't have asked for it to end a better way. And just even getting that one game at the X, feeling what it's like to play in front of that big crowd, scoring a goal, a team having success, like every good play, you just hear the entire crowd, your fans cheering, and that's not an opportunity that you'll probably ever get again. So it was pretty special.
Heath, what are you going to take with you from your senior season?
Throwing the gloves up in the air against Maple Grove, greatest feeling. And playing at the X, obviously, that was an unreal experience. I'll never forget those 2 games.
Yeah, phenomenal. All right, these 2 guys, we're going to see where their careers go. Still got some opportunity to keep playing hockey at the next level, too. Our thanks to Harper, Searles, and Heath Nelson. A couple of seniors from the 5th place finishing Centennial Cougars boys hockey team. We've got more on our winter wrap-up show still to come. We're going to move to the hardwood here for a couple of players from Spring Lake Park. We'll tie a bow on the boys and girls basketball seasons for SLP. That's next here on Sports 10.
An apple core, or potato peels, that leftover pizza you promised you'd eat.
Ew!
Those dirty napkins and paper towels. Stop treating us like garbage. Did you know up to 30% of what you're throwing away could be composted? Composting gives your discards new life, which can be used to improve soil. To learn more about the new organics drop-off programs available throughout the county and get your free starter kit, go to anokacounty.us/organics.
Welcome back to our winter finale here on North Metro TV. Pumped to get to wrap up the hockey chapter of our year and move on to the hardwood and get to talk about how playoffs have been going for our teams.
Yeah, that's right, Blythe. We'll have the state tournament in boys basketball coming up next week. We have section finals to go to state this week. Spring Lake Park, Blaine, and Centennial all in contention, hoping to get to a couple of different section finals we've got going around in the state. Let's get right into the highlights here from boys basketball in the week. Starting Wednesday night, the Section 7 4A quarterfinals. The Cardinals and the Centennial Cougars rematching from a 74-60 win just 19 days prior. Parker stole from the corner with the 3 there. Junior Jackson Dreesen greasing the wheels for Centennial with their first bucket. Jackson Young showing it from all levels here. A finish inside the paint brought Rapids back within 1. A 3 for number 3, senior Luke Gunderman, who would go off for the Cougars in this one. More on him later. A lot of Jacksons in this game with clean strokes. Jackson Hedwer for Coon Rapids, and then Ty Burgoon, more 3-point makes than anyone in program history, hits one off the left wing there. Junior Jacob Hosfeld field. The waiver to legally change his name to Jackson was filed after he hit that three. Jerry Freeman would get all the way to the rim, and then Hetwer cans it from 3 here. Young, the other Jackson, would hit it here, and both the Jacksons combining to help Coon Rapids out to a 30-13 run. It was cut into on this Burgoon bomb. That'll help, and then this really helped. Luke Gunderman, a half-court heave at the horn, hits it. Gunderman had 18 before the break. Cougars responded from the 30-13 Cardinal run with a 9-2 scoring binge of their own to close the half. Threes would keep raining to start the second. Freeman finds nylon for Coon Rapids. Gunderman, another three. Oh, and ended up being a record-setting performance from the senior, but every big bucket the Cougars had, Cardinals had an answer. Anthony Belpedio, Tony triples with the three there, and it wouldn't stop. Coon Rapids exceeds 100 to move on to the semifinals.
I've been in a slump lately, but this week I knew it's different. It's sections I have to lock in. You know, I knew from practice I started shooting really well, and I called it. I was like, I'm going to have a really good game today. My teammates give me the ball. They were helping me out through practice and today. He called it apparently too, so big game, man. It feels good.
You could tell when the ball left your hand that it was going in, and you just, you know, a shooter's mentality. When you get in that rhythm, it comes easy to you. You know, talk a little bit in terms of what you're advancing now. You're either going to play Blaine or Anoka. Talk about that next game. Enjoy this one first, but talk about that next game because you played them both.
I feel really confident for both of them. We know what we got to do. We got to keep working, go to practice, working as a team, move the ball. We can't sit on this one too long. We're going to celebrate tonight, but tomorrow we got to get to work.
You know, 20 points at half, I was really feeling it. Thought I was going to keep on going, but foul trouble got to me in the second half. I'm glad my teammates could step up. You know, Hetwer had a huge game, and I could see it coming from practice. But, yeah, I'm really proud of how my teammates stepped up today. I'm proud of them.
Talk a little bit about what Jerry Freeman did, because, you know, he only had 6 points, I believe 4 points, I think, at the end of the first half. Did a really nice job, especially when you were out picking up the slack, running the offense, doing a good job of putting the ball in.
I mean, yeah, that's like the part about Jerry is that I'm a pretty inconsistent player, but you know Jerry's going to give you 15 and 10 every single night. So, you know, it's really nice to be able to rely on him, even if I'm in foul trouble and I'm out, that we can rely on him and he'll get the job done.
Connor didn't.
So you hear from the Cardinals there, who are victorious, their second win over Centennial of the season. We said wide open field, but the 2 seed moves on to the semifinals. How about Luke Gunderman, senior, what ends up being his last game for Centennial? He drops 30 points, sets a school record with 10 made three-pointers in this game. Ty Burgoon finishes his Cougar career with 3 straight 20-point performances. He finishes at Centennial as their all-time leader in three-point makes, steals, and he was the 7th guy in school history to reach 1,000 career points. So Centennial's season, it had some highs, tough season overall for the Cougars, but they go out ultimately in the section quarterfinal round.
Taking a look at the other quarterfinal, Blaine Bengals at the Anoka Tornadoes. Peyton Podani gets things heated up from the three-point line early. Trey Borchers keeps the Tornadoes swirling as he drops another 3. Ethan Pettis floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. He drops the deuce, keeping them in this game. Look at this shiny diamond from who else but David Diamond. Pop, drop, and count it as Dominic Backett cashes in to push the Tornadoes back into the lead. Bengals trying to do something. They unleash the Lion. It's Jordan Lyon for 3. Lyon keeps them clawing back in, tying this game up at 30 apiece. Brody Lackinen almost getting the roll, and you saw there Housey getting called for goaltending. Seconds left, Podani sinks the nonchalant smooth 3, 39-34 at the half, but Cade Nelson helps tie this game up 41-41. Trey Borchers bolts through the lane, gives it up to Housey. Housey do that, continue on in this game in rhythm. You got to see Payne calling his own name on speed dial. Dre Ellis sinking it in rhythm. And Alvin Payne. Payne plus Payne equals points. You see him put down some more in the lane. Payne this time dishes to Cade Nelson for 3. Anoka, time winding down, gives it to Housey, and he finishes it off to move to the semifinals. And you take a look at this, some awesome performances. Podani, 30 points. Lyon, 24. But of course, having numerous people there in double digits, it's Housey with 12, Ellis with 10, Borchers 13, And ultimately, too much for the Blaine Bengals. Payne had 16, Nelson 11, Pettis 10, but tornadoes swirling into the semifinals, as I said. But Podani averaging 18.6 per game, so ultimately getting 30 points feels pretty good for him in that last one. Taking a look at another semifinal, Mustangs taking on our Panthers. Connor Bangs gets the explosion early from the three-point line. Swing to the wing, ka-ching. Miles Thompson crashes in some more. Cash it. Eli Rowe reverse laying it in. Sampson raising up, getting the triple to close in this game. Eli Rowe drops in 17 on the night, tied at 15. All Brock Remme puts the team on his back. He floats in the deuce. Skip pass. Eli Rowe to Sampson for three is good. Panthers claw back in. Andrew King is clawing with his defense and laying it in on the offensive end. Second half, free time attacks. That baseline jumper is good. Remme dribbling it in. The defense lulled to sleep. The Euro step, silky smooth finish. Back within 5. King for 3. Now this game back within 2. Eli Rowe left all alone inside. Able to find Sampson here. Lets it fly. 4-point lead. Freeheim frees them up to advance to the semifinals.
Taking a look at the Section 5 4A bracket for the boys, the one occupied by the Spring Lake Park Panthers. They fall in a rematch with Mounds View, who SLP lost to in a 1-point game to open up the regular season. So the SLP year for the Panthers ends with a 15-12 record. It denies them a rematch with the top seed and number 2 ranked Park Center, who, remember, Spring Lake Park beat in a massive upset on Valentine's Day that looked like it was going to be a big disruptor in the section. Park Center, 2-time defending champions, number 2 ranked team in the state. They're the favorites as they play for their 3rd trip to state on Thursday night at Rogers High School against the 2 seed Maple Grove. I really would have liked to have seen that SLP Park Center rematch.
I know, seriously.
In Section 7, this was the wide open one. We said, I made some pretty big predictions last week, Blythe. I said, hey, watch out. We could see some very low seeds go on to the final. That ends up being the one for the 2 anyway. But
that's what happens when we predict, right?
You got to take some big swings. Our seasons end for our couple of our North Metro schools. Blaine with a record of 7-20, and Centennial with a record of 8-19. Cardinals, we should shout out Coon Rapids, have not been to state in 41 years since they were the Class AA runners-up in 1983. Shout out to our friends over at CTN Coon Rapids. Would love to see them get to call a section final win. No shade thrown Forest Lakes way, but we like CTN. We're happy to be joined by 2 representatives, a couple of seniors of both the Spring Lake Park boys and girls basketball teams. I'm alongside Brock Remme and Bella Sutch, a couple of 12th graders at Spring Lake Park High School. Guys, first off, thanks for being here. Excited to talk about your teams who both overcame a little bit of slower starts to the season. I think ended the regular season playing some of your better basketball of the season. Brock, let's talk with you first. SLP coming off a 15-12 regular season. You guys had a hot stretch where you won 8 of 10 following a 6-7 start. You guys beat 2nd-ranked Park Center, also a couple of big wins on the road against Osseo and Rogers. Talking with Coach Major a little bit, you guys had a little bit of a stumbling block in the Roseville game. You guys kind of used that as a springboard, rolled into a 5-game winning streak where you topped number 2 Park Center. What do you remember after that Roseville game and how that inspired you guys to kind of push through and finish strong to the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were, that game we were up at halftime and then ended up losing by 20. So kind of in the locker room, everyone we didn't really know what to do. I mean, it was a game we went into thinking we should have won it. So we kind of really just needed to all recollect, and we played the following Monday, which helped. So we got a good win against Columbia Heights, and then that kind of just leapfrogged us into some games like Park Center and Rogers on the road. Tough games that we went out and won, so yeah.
Yeah. Bella, with your team, Spring Lake Park, the girls, It doesn't seem like a huge improvement, but 6-11 and then finishing 5-5. But you guys played 5-5 during the conference slate of the season, typically the toughest stretch of the schedule. What did you guys do as a unit to kind of improve and finish playing better basketball?
I think we did a lot of team bonding and a lot of work just trying to get everybody back on the same page. I know we had a little bit of a part where nobody was on the same page and it just seemed like we were all discombobulated. And so we just did some team building, brought it back together, had a couple good days at practice, and then we were able to bring it home.
For you guys individually, Brock, the biggest thing for you seemed like was being healthy this year. You've dealt with some kind of knee problems throughout your career. You led the state in the large school division, Class 4A, in scoring, averaging over 26 a game. How big was it just being healthy, and then maybe some confidence that rolled with that had you really explode for a huge senior season?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, coming off, I had 3 knee surgeries my sophomore and junior year, so coming into my junior year, I didn't really play any AAU, so then it was kind of just fresh, and I wanted to build confidence back in my knee, and I wanted to make sure I could get through a season. So, you know, being able to get through this whole senior year AAU season and then just being confident in my knee and trusting that it's going to be fine. And I think also having a bigger role scoring. We lost a good amount of seniors, so I knew I had to step up, and everyone around me helped me, and I think it was a whole team effort.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the AAU season where you turned a lot of heads and got a lot of attention. Was that kind of great for you? Like, you got to go out there, feel it out, see how the knee felt, and it seemed like you just kind of hit the ground running once high school season started.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to test it out during AAU too, because it's 2 games and then you get 5-day break, and you know, you get time to rest it, and you might play 2 or 3 games in a day, but then you know, you have time to heal it and make sure you can tell how it feels. And so I knew after AAU that it'd be good for high school season, and it held up, and yeah, it was good.
Bella, you this year led the Panthers in scoring again. You reached the 1,000-point scoring threshold, 6th player in SLP history on the girls' side to do that. When did you become aware of that milestone, and what did it mean to you to get to celebrate that accomplishment?
I mean, I've been aware of it since I was a sophomore. I think Coach Randy mentioned it to me as a sophomore, like, hey, you're going to hit this eventually. And then last year it kind of became a reality that I was actually going to get there and that I wasn't that far away at the end of last season. And so this season I didn't really think about it until I got really close. And I know we were keeping track of it, but I never really wanted to look at how it was being tracked or what I was actually at. And then being able to hit that milestone, it was a super fun time. I was at 999 going into a game, and it was one rebound and a layup, and it was amazing after that.
Yeah, really cool. You got to score a lot of those points too with a lot of your classmates where you guys played varsity together for many years. Bree Nussbaum, Olivia Kesty. What do you remember about that core group of seniors? You guys got to kind of come up together and play varsity basketball for a long time.
So we started together, Liv and I started together as 2nd graders, and then Bree joined us in 4th grade. And we grew up together. We played, my mom was our coach growing up, and so we got to kind of learn from her and then get into the high school program and learn from Randy, and it was just an amazing experience. We had a great time together, all 4 of us. Yeah,
Brock, what about your senior class? Because you guys showed some flashes in some games last year. Andrew King had a monster season shooting behind you. Miles Thompson, a really solid point guard, just some of the class. And then you being back healthy, you guys, it really felt like gelled this year and made some waves, like beating Park Center being the big highlight of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it started kind of slow. You know, we had a couple guys who went from JV to varsity and hadn't played with them in a couple years. So it took a couple weeks to get used to them. And, you know, I think January, you know, after winter break, you know, we really all kind of formed together, and we started really connecting, and I think we started 1-4 and then won 14 of our next 20. So, you know, we found a good streak, and we started all playing team basketball.
Yeah. Park Center are a powerhouse in the state. You guys went on the road on February 14th and beat them. You basically led the whole game until the last minute. The Pirates took the lead. Miles went down the floor, coast to coast, finished, you know, less than 30 seconds to go to put you guys back up. What do you remember about that game? I know some people really like the feeling of silencing a tough road environment. I imagine that's a pretty tough place to play in Park Center.
Yeah, I mean, really, we just went into the week. We knew we had 3 tough games, and we kind of just said one game at a time. We know we can beat anybody if we're playing our best basketball. So, yeah, it was just trusting that we could beat them and knowing that we had the ability to. And we knew that they were a fast break team, so it was limiting our live ball turnovers and getting back on defense and forcing them to shoot threes, which we did. And, I mean, we followed our game plan and just played good basketball and went out there and won. And, yeah, it was a huge win for us.
Yeah. Bella, what are some of the big moments and wins for your team this year you remember as a senior?
I think beating Oak River was one of our big ones. We had a couple of tough games and a tough stretch, and then we came out and it was a home game. It was a Friday night, and it was just an amazing experience to do that. And then also that we had a couple other games. Beating Rogers on senior night was a big one for us. We hadn't beat Rogers in a couple of years, and so being able to take them out and on senior night was a good experience as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about plans for next year. Brock, you have gotten some looks to play some college basketball. I know you're going to play somewhere, maybe a little up in the air. What are your aspirations for your career moving forward?
Yeah, I want to go play basketball next year. Haven't figured it out yet. I'm going to start taking a lot more visits now that our season's over. And right now, there's a lot of conference and national tournaments going on. So probably once those finish up, I'm going to start taking more visits and kind of just evaluate where I am early spring, midsummer, and see what offers I have and where I can go play.
Yeah, I heard from Coach Major that you kind of just wanted to sort of pause your recruiting until after the season was over. Was that just you wanting to fully commit yourself to focusing on the season, and then now you're kind of just shifting your focus now?
Yeah, I want to take full advantage of my senior season. I wanted to, it was the last time I get to play with those guys, so I really wanted to make the most of it and try and not focus too much on where I'm going to be at in the future and just focus on the present and, just play with them for one last time.
Bella, you're going to Gustavus next year. You're going to track and field and play some basketball as well, too, for the Gusties. That's pretty cool. Tell me about how that opportunity arose and how it was important to you to keep moving forward, continuing to be a 2-sport athlete.
I think I reached out to Coach Kelly at early in my junior season, and I was like, hey, this is who I am. I would love to do a visit, and so I did a first visit when I was a junior, and then kind of put it off, did a couple of other visits this summer, and then went back and was like, hey, I want to do an overnight. I actually want to come here. And then I did that overnight and did a couple other visits, and then realized that I was comparing everything to Gustavus, and I was comparing everything to the experience I had had there. And that's kind of what made my decision for me, was that I was comparing everything to them, and nothing else was topping what I had there.
Yeah, great. Last thing for you guys, anything that stands out that's a favorite fun memory of yours from playing basketball at Spring Lake Park, Brock?
It had to be beating Park Center. We'd never beat them since we moved to Class 4A, so it was a huge win for us. It kind of propelled our whole season.
Yeah.
We were, before that, we had a couple good wins, but lost to Roseville was a couple weeks before that, so it was huge for us, and then it kind of just gave us confidence knowing that, okay, we can go out and beat anybody in the state, and so yeah, that was probably our best moment.
Yeah. Bella, what about you?
There's so many memories, I can't even think of just one. If I'm going all the way back to the program, we won state in 4th grade, and that's probably the highlight, in total of my entire career at Spring Lake Park, but for high school, my freshman season, being able to go to the section final was probably a big highlight for me.
All right, our thanks to a couple of seniors, Bella Sutch, Brock Remme from Spring Lake Park. We will be back continuing it on the hardwood, a couple of members from Centennial and Blaine, as we keep it on the girls' side of hoops next on the winter season wrap-up on Sports Den.
Welcome back alongside Katelyn Wozniak and Jordan Metz. And ladies, we are so pumped that you are in our studio. We want to start with you, Katelyn, and talk about your season with the Blaine Bengals, and more specifically, the difference between your sophomore season into your junior season. So if I'm looking at the numbers, points per game, you had 11.3 here this season, and your sophomore year was 2.3. So an awesome improvement for sure. And ultimately, I'm curious what your thoughts are on what was that improvement, maybe what went into those 2 seasons, and how did you make it happen?
For sure. My sophomore season was kind of more of like I was figuring more out the speed of the game. Obviously, high school is such a big transition from youth ball, so definitely I was still trying to adjust to the speed of the game. I think this year my AAU season really helped out, and I was able to kind of get a better idea of the speed of the game and decision making, and that for sure helped out on the court with the team.
Yeah, so true. When you have those moments where you can look back on and really just see that difference maker, whether it all clicked and you're like, wow, this is the speed of play, I know it now, and able to go out there and do so well this season. And Jordan, Metz, also pumped to have you here. And of course, we've talked to you a lot about soccer and excited to have you back talking about basketball. Ultimately, when you look back on this season, this year being that senior season for you, what stands out the most about how this senior season went to you?
I think we started off pretty rough. So we had a tough few games, like starting with Minnetonka. Hard to start with that, especially since we're a younger team. And we had a few new starters, so I think it was just like trying to get us all to mesh together. But I think we started taking pride in our defense, and we played a lot stronger towards the end.
Yeah, ultimately, Jordan, I feel it was so cool to watch you, whether that was plowing through the lane, going all the way to the hoop, or also taking the 3-ball. You overall performed so well in both soccer and basketball throughout your career. What is something that you want your teammates to remember about you in how you played the sport?
I think it's just like always being that positive person, like someone's having a bad game or a bad practice. I think it's just like uplifting someone and having that like leadership role as a senior and taking pride in that.
Yeah, it's really important ultimately when you have that senior hat on, basically everyone's looking to you, and so definitely I think that you certainly are deserving of that and for your teammates to see that. Katelyn, I want to talk with you about also what you're looking forward to next season, because you still have time to play with your team, the Blaine Bengals. What's something that maybe you want to take from this season and bring into next?
For sure. Early on this season, we had a few injuries of some big players on our team. So, some of our younger girls were able to step into a bigger role this year. And I think that will really help to be able to carry that on to next season, because we'll have some more experience on the floor for just all around. And I think that'll really help out for a good season next year.
Yeah, it's true. When you can kind of evaluate what you want to bring into next season, it's always helpful to kind of take that step back before you jump back in. And Jordan, of course, not necessarily putting on a Centennial jersey next year, but ultimately you are playing sports at the next level. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm committed to the University of Minnesota Crookston to continue my soccer.
Yeah, and which is going to be really exciting that you're still in the state of Minnesota, so we can for sure keep tabs on how you're doing, and definitely rooting you on here from North Metro TV. My entire crew, I'm sure, echoes that too, so fun to see that as well. And Katelyn, when you think about this past season, and ultimately you talked about having some of those injuries and you guys having to rally back and you ladies coming together, what was one of maybe some important messages that Coach shared with you that kind of helped get everyone on the same page?
Definitely just like being able to uplift everybody. We're obviously a young team, so mistakes are going to happen, but being there for each other to pick each other up and support each other through those mistakes is one thing Coach really harped on this season, and I think it definitely helped to achieve the improvement we had for the end of the season.
Yeah. And Jordan, is there something that you're most proud of in your basketball career that you brought to your game over the years, something that maybe stands out?
I think it's just like the rebounding. I wasn't always like a huge rebounder when I was younger, so I think taking pride in that, especially when you lost Autumn to a few games, I think that was a big role, just getting in the rebounds and my confidence level too for shooting the basketball.
Yeah, and I think for both of you ladies, being multi-sport athletes, can you talk about what that's been like throughout your career to be able to transition from one to the other, and how much do you think it helped you?
Yeah, I'm able to carry, like, as a tennis player, we're moving back and forth a lot, so I'm able to work on having quick feet and all that, I'm just able to carry so many skills from my other sports onto the basketball court, and that definitely really helps me as a player.
Yeah, and Jordan.
I think it's just like having the good hands. Like I play soccer all year round, so it's from going to basketball practice to soccer practice. So it's not much different. I mean, you see a few kick balls in the games, but that's what you get.
That's true. I play both of those as well, so I completely understand. I think what's interesting too, as you're sitting at this point in the year and you kind of get to look back on your season, and whether it's kind of just reminisce on some of those highlights, some of those moments that really stand out. Katelyn, we're going to start with you. Do you have a moment that just really stands out that was the most fun this year?
Yeah, early on in the season, I think beating Rosemount was one of our biggest achievements, and we kind of were comparing a lot of our games back to how we played that game. It was just a super big game for us, and winning it was just so exciting. We were all storming the court. It was just definitely one of the happiest memories this season.
Yeah, I bet.
I think mine was the and one that Molly Munson got against Park Center.
Yeah.
The last second, I had the inbound pass to her, and she made it, and it was just a good win.
I know, I always love when your team can really rally around whether it was an awesome point or an awesome game, and when everyone just kind of gets to end up at that next level of excitement and happiness for just a little bit. But ultimately, when you think about your career and your thoughts for what is to come in your ladies' life, what is something that you're thinking about? Do you think that you'll ever want to be coaches because of this experience that you're having? Do you think that might be it in your future?
I mean, I would definitely be open to that for sure. As someone who started basketball young, I think I could really help out with like building up young girls' confidence. That's a big part of the game. And having been through this process, I feel like I could definitely help out there, and I'm totally open to that, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going into education field, so I think that comes along with coaching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited to see what it holds.
Well, that would be really neat. Maybe you'll come back to Centennial even. Who knows? Who knows what's in the future? But both of you ladies, when you think about just this season in general, and you think about ultimately some of those lessons that Coach was telling you throughout the season and throughout your career, is there something that you take with you as you move into the next chapter or the next year back at school that will kind of stay with you, a message that really hit home?
Yeah, our coach always says to be part of basketball is being part of something that's bigger than yourself. I think that's something I kind of carry around with me from day to day. Like, obviously, this is a team sport, and anything I do in life, I just want to be able to do it for the people around me, not just myself. And I think that's something super important that I can carry on throughout my whole life, not just basketball.
Yeah, I love that.
I think mine was just like next shot. Like, we take pride in like confidence, and I think we're always worried about the missed shot or whatever. So we just need to focus on the next one and don't worry about the last play.
Yeah, and absolutely. That comes to play in everyday life where it's really, you got to just take on that next thing. And if you try to think about too many things at the same time, it will ultimately maybe stunt some of that growth. So well said, both of you ladies. Just so happy that you've been in our studio with us, getting to tell us about everything that's happened in the past year, past career. But we're going to get to talk with more ladies coming up. Hockey highlights, a lot of things. Thanks, guys.
Good evening. We will call the City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Time is 6:30 p.m. I'm calling to order the City of Centerville Council meeting.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the City of Circle Pines, Minnesota regular City Council meeting.
Take your City Council anywhere.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ham Lake City Council meeting.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, Bill.
Lake Park City Council meetings not called to order.
Subscribe to your city podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
Welcome back into our studio. A couple ladies from Cougars hockey are joining me now. We have Grace Laager and Teagan Kulenkamp. Thanks so much, ladies, for being here. Ultimately, we're going to start here with you, Grace. We want to talk about your freshman year. And it's crazy to think about your freshman year since you've already been on this team since 7th grade, but still just a young talent ultimately. And what is that like being a freshman who has had experience and been on this team? Do you still feel like a freshman, or do you feel like almost an upperclassman by now?
Yeah, when I started playing as my 7th grade year, I felt younger, but now when people talk to me and how I'm a freshman on varsity, and it never really feels like that for me because I'm so close with Teagan and a lot of the older girls because I've been playing with them for 3 years. So I don't ever really feel like a freshman, but sometimes like it'll kind of like dawn on me.
Yeah. Well, of course, your stats don't look like a freshman either, but obviously it's fun to see that you're obviously continuing to grow with your team. But Teagan, we're pumped you're here, and ultimately it's been fun to look between your stats and just between even sophomore year to this season, junior year. Sophomore year, 7 goals, 17 assists. This season, 22 goals, 21 assists. And an incredible difference and awesome improvement. What do you think was maybe one of the difference makers in that improvement?
Yeah, I definitely think during the off season, playing at like the national camp and playing with good competition, it really helped in all my elite league teams. And then just getting back into the swing of high school hockey and playing with Grace, like we just have really good chemistry, and I think that really helped me getting all those points.
Yeah, and ultimately, you're talking about that chemistry on the ice. How do you ladies think that you've helped build that even off the ice? We can start with you.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of fun in the locker room. Bball, she's a lot of fun. We have like dance parties. We're always playing the music. So it really starts in like the locker room and like warm-ups for us, and that always transfers onto the ice.
Yeah.
I would say Grace and I have been playing it ever since like my freshman year and her 7th grade year. We've always like known each other, and just being on the ice every day together, it really helps our chemistry, and like we're good friends, so it just contributes on the ice.
Yeah. And Teagan, we're going to stay with you and talking about the University of St. Thomas, of course, is in your future on the horizon, but you still have another season at your high school. What does it feel like to already know where you're going to go after next year?
Yeah, it's really exciting knowing like what my future is going to hold, and I'm really excited for St. Thomas, but it's nice to take a nice step back and realize I still have one more year at high school hockey, and like the goal is to get to state again, get to that section final, and have a really good season with the girls this year, so I think that will just contribute to that.
Yeah, ultimately, both of you ladies, having felt what that feels like to play in a state tournament, what do you think is the key to success to help you ladies get back there next year?
Yeah, like we talked about our team, like not just our chemistry, but our team chemistry and like culture was really big for us this year. And I think there was a lot of questions of if we were going to be still a top team this year after losing Lauren O'Hara to the Gophers. But we came and we showed that we were a top team. We didn't make it to state, but I think we will be able to see ourselves there in the future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, of course, losing your goaltender, Katelyn Groess, what is that going to be like maybe next season, not having maybe that strong stability back there in net?
Yeah, I mean, just like how we lost Lauren, it'll definitely be a challenge, but we were able to bounce back from it this year, so I'm excited to see what it'll look like next year.
And of course, when you think about what that's like throughout a season, some of the differences, some of the changes, whether that's from coach, whether that's from injuries, what do you think was maybe something that surprised you about this past season, Teagan?
Mm-hmm. I think like definitely losing Lauren, and like we lost our first line, but it really like gave a lot of us girls like a lot more ice time, and we got to prove that there's a good group of us girls on the team, and like we played really good together, and I think just having that good core group, it really will set us up for the next couple of years.
Yeah, and ultimately when you think about what you want to be known for on the ice, off the ice, do you have something that you look to when you want to really present yourself in the way you want to out there?
I would say just being like a good teammate overall. A lot of times like star players, like you look at like their stats or their individual, or like their plays, whatever. But I think just being a good like teammate on, off the ice, just like all of that. And especially I know I'm a 9th grader, but even like the girls that are younger, just like being able to know that they can look up to me. And I did come to the high school so early, like just kind of showing that it is possible if you work hard.
Yeah. And how about you, Teagan?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're really trying to like show the younger girls in the youth program who are really good that we're trying to be their role models, and you can do anything by just working hard. And like even if people like this year didn't think us Centennial would be really good again this year, and that we only lost 2 games during the whole season, but I think it really shows with hard work and like believing in each other and showing up every day to the rink that anything's possible.
Yeah, and when you think about the off season and maybe something that each of you want to work on to bring into next year, is there something specific that you want to be looking at to make a difference next year?
I think a big thing for me that I always like to focus on is just like being able to get like craftier on the net and like just putting more pucks away when it gets down to it, because obviously that's a big factor, and it kind of came up for us in that final game against Maple Grove. We couldn't keep getting the pucks in the net, and ultimately led to our season being over.
Yeah, for me, I'd say definitely work a little bit more on the defensive zone, because especially since we're losing Katelyn Gross next year and she was a brick wall in net, that it might be hard to not give up as many goals again this year. But I think working on our defensive zone will be great. We have a lot of good returning D, and just again like putting pucks away in the back of the net, that'll really help for next year.
And when you think about this season, what's a memory that maybe makes you smile when you think about this past year as you close that chapter?
I definitely will always remember our locker room and how fun it is in the locker room with all of us just singing and dancing.
I have to agree. There wasn't a big game. I mean, we had a lot of good wins, but our team culture this year has been the best that I've had in my career.
Yeah, and both of you ladies, ultimately, we are so glad that you've been here in our studio getting to talk about just the accomplishments you made on the ice, but ultimately you're also showing just the young women and how awesome you're becoming throughout your years here at your schools. But ladies, we are going to have to take a break, and we will come back. We're going to be talking and recapping our seasons here on Sports Den.
North Metro Television. North Metro TV is the public access television production studio that serves the northern suburbs of Blaine, Centerville, Circle Pines, Ham Lake, Lexington, Lino Lakes, and Spring Lake Park. In addition to teaching the general public how to produce their own programs, NMTV has a production staff dedicated to covering local news and sports, special events, elections, city meetings, and many more items of interest to the northern suburbs. You are watching North Metro TV.
Welcome back into Sports Den. We're here to put a capper on the winter sports season and the school year as a whole. It is our final show of the season. Alongside Blythe Whaley, I'm Matt Dean. And Blythe, just kind of our general final thoughts, favorite memories of stuff we covered on North Metro TV this year. Couple that come to mind for me. I was trying to reach back into the recesses of memory to football season. Of course, remember a lot about the Centennial Cougar football run to state. We got to cover their state quarterfinal matchup in Stillwater. They played Rosemount. It was a huge kind of recent rivalry game where they had lost to the Irish the year before. Centennial has dominated. I think the Irish maybe moved it over the midfield line once in the first half, and it was a dominant display. Centennial, who would eventually win the championship, seeing them get to celebrate because they knew they were playing at US Bank Stadium for the first time. That stands out. I loved covering the regular season finale for Spring Lake Park football. I remember it went to overtime. Lamari Brown scored a touchdown. Matamidai got the ball back, responded, got the touchdown. They decided to go for 2 to win it rather than kick the extra point to tie it. Francisco Fernandez, I believe, was the one who batted the potential game-winning pass away to seal it, walk-off win for SLP going to the playoffs.
I'm glad you remembered that one and found it in the back of your brain, because it helped remind me of that game, because that was fun. I remember calling some of those highlights on Sports Den and getting to see some of that action as well. But for myself, I guess I'm thinking about Spring Lake Park ladies making it to that section final, which hasn't happened in quite some time, if it's happened. And so for them, I love celebrating the accomplishments, whether it's teams, but also some of the people that we had in our studio today, like Bella Sutch getting her 1,000th point this year. You, of course, have some of those basketball and other sport highlights of individual accomplishments, Matt, that were just quite impressive this year, too.
Yeah. Last one I wanted to throw in before we close. A more recent one, Centennial basketball, who, we went through the highlights. Yeah. They lose in the first round of the playoffs. It was a 7-win year for the Cougars, but even when you're having a tough season, there's still highlight moments that you can come away with. And there was absolutely one when they upset Spring Lake Park just a few weeks ago. I got to call it with Nick Walsh, who's nephew, Spencer Waldvogel, is the head coach of the Centennial Cougars. So Nick Walsh, he's a true professional. He kept his composure. He called the game like a pro with me, but then he kept it contained inside. And then Nick Walsh, the glee that was oozing out of him as he got to interview Coach Waldvogel after the monumental win of the season, beating a ranked Spring Lake Park team at the time. So that was fun. Thanks to Nick Walsh. Bill Hupp, who you've seen a lot on our North Metro TV coverage this year as well, too. I'm Matt Dean. That's Blythe Whaley. We're signing out here on the season finale of Sports Den. Thanks to Ted LaRue and our entire crew here at North Metro TV. We got spring coverage coming up, but on Sports Den, we'll see you next fall talking high school football.